During my time in engaging text, I've definitely learned a lot about literary criticism. And I've heard of cultural and gender criticism before, but I honestly did not know about some of the other criticisms presented in the shared document that we first received at the beginning of the semester. And I definitely learned a lot through utilizing structuralism, given I've used it for a lot of my reading responses. Although I've analyzed literature before in terms of relating what the author might have read prior to creating their work, I didn't know the exact term for this. So I find it cool how structuralism understands nothing in isolation, but rather that every piece of our knowledge is part of a network of associations. It transforms something from being a simple answer or question to having a plethora of different possible considerations. When I read a text and I find myself questioning something, I tend to find these ethical conundrums that beg me to question all the possible answers for the scenario. So structuralism, in a sense, is doing exactly this. It's literally questioning all the possible answers and saying, well, you have to think about this, and it branches out into these different things. So I loved all the literary theories, and I thought it was fun to use them in my papers and form them into a challenge of saying, how can I apply this to the text? But structuralism was by far my favorite to use and learn more about. In terms of gender criticism, like I mentioned earlier, I had heard about it before. When reading text, I especially honed in on how women are confined to gender boxes and social pressure, but did not truly see the insight on men until this class. Although I was well aware that men are confined to gender roles as well, I didn't explicitly apply this to text as I was reading it, as I was only focusing on females. I think Sun, as a character in Tar Baby, really allowed me to focus on how men are socially pressured as well to perform and act in certain ways. Though these expectations are different than women's, men are socialized no less than women to think and behave in certain ways. This class has really allowed me to focus on this side of the gender spectrum as well. And this helped me grow as a thinker because I can use these literary theories to further dig into texts and really understand the deeper meanings behind them. Even while reading new texts now, I find myself critically engaging with them and thinking about the literary theories. It's really awesome because I find myself talking about these literary theories and discussing my thoughts on them to my peers and friends quite often. And my boyfriend and I love to read educational books together and discuss our thoughts on them. So it's been super cool just to see how critical thinking now defines these books for me. And it allows me to share with him and further broaden my understanding of literary criticism, because the more you talk about educational matters with your friends, the more it sticks with you. And I've learned that especially over the span of a few years. Some of my favorite memories in the class are definitely revolved around the opening takes. They're always what I look forward to when entering the class, and it just feels like such a great opening to feel comfortable and just ready for preparation. I think that one of my all-time favorites was when we spent like an ample amount of time talking about the P. Diddy case in class. I think it was just so funny because so many of my classmates had heard or learned about it through TikTok. And so we all kind of felt like experts on the subject, even though we're not. We had just seen like short clips about it. But I thought that was really funny. And then another fun instance that we had was when we first started the class and we got to like interview a person that was sitting at our table and present them to the class. And I thought it was really cool that we got to know each other on a more personal level, especially considering the class size is just so small. So I really appreciated that. And then another thing that I really like, which isn't necessarily a fun instance in the class, is just how we're able to read the text aloud in class and kind of popcorn read, because I just like how we go through every line in what we're reading, like especially in poetry, like we go through each line and we discuss what it means. And I feel like analyzing a text, it's good to have that fresh in your mind in class, and it's not just something we read and then we're going to talk about it in class. It's more like a fresh reminder of everything. So I absolutely loved the class. I think it was extremely insightful, and it definitely helped me grow as a reader and a writer. I would definitely recommend this class to anyone who has a love for literature and wants to pursue a deeper insight on how reoccurring themes within a text can be presented through a critical lens. So